So most of you probably think you're a pretty great person, and I agree. I'm not saying you're not a good person. But if I said that statement to some people, they might be thinking, excuse me, just great. I'm wonderful. I'm the best there is. Now, maybe none of you think that, but this orange thing here definitely does think that. So Trump isn't good at a lot of things, but he is really great at making everything about himself. Let's take a look. When he visited Puerto Rico after it was hit by hurricanes, he said there was anywhere between 6 to 18 deaths. And then after he left, the media started reporting things like 3,000. Rather than expressing his condolences, Trump decided to make this a personal attack from the Democrats. Now, if that's not narcissism, then I don't know what is. Today, we are going to take a deeper look at how narcissism develops. But before we do that, I don't really want to talk about Trump for 5 minutes. I don't want to make you all leave. So we're going to turn our attention to the evil queen. Now, she is a classic narcissist, and she represents narcissism at its extreme. She is grandiose, meaning that she feels superior to everyone else. She's also attention-seeking, jealous, and of course, unsympathetic. Now, underlying all of these traits is the fact that she lacks self-esteem. I'm sure she didn't just wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to be a narcissist now. So let's take a look at how she came to be. Our levels of narcissism start developing at a relatively young age, and it's a combination of our innate personality as well as our environmental influences. Now, in childhood, the biggest environmental influence we have is the way we were brought up. Now, there's a variety of different parenting strategies that people use to bring up their children, and in combination with personality, this leads to different levels of narcissism. Let's take a deeper look at different parenting strategies. In psychology, we talk about 4 general parenting strategies, and this is based on scales of emotional warmth, as well as how demanding or lax parents are. The authoritative parent, excuse me, is very emotionally responsive, but also knows when to set rules. Completely opposite to that is the neglectful parent. Now, this parent is very uninvolved in their children's lives, and they are completely unemotionally responsive, and they are lax. The permissive parent is someone who spoils their children. These parents cater to their children's every need and want, but don't know when to set boundaries. Last, there is the authoritarian parent, who is extremely strict, but doesn't offer enough emotional support. Now, each of these parenting styles have a specific interaction with narcissism development. First of all, there's the permissive parent, and as I mentioned, these parents spoil their children. This leads to the children feeling like they are superior to other people, and as we mentioned, this relates to the sense of grandiose that I brought up in the evil queen. Meanwhile, the neglectful and authoritarian parent is emotionally unresponsive, meaning that their children tend to be more attention-seeking. That's yet another behavior we saw in the evil queen. Now, interestingly, the more narcissistic a mother is, the more narcissistic her child also is. On those same lines, that same child tends to have lower expressions of empathy. This means that they aren't as well as other children they aren't as able to experience sympathy as other children are. Although paternal narcissism doesn't have a specific interaction with narcissism in their children, paternal narcissism doesn't have a specific influence over children's narcissism, fathers still play a very big role in how children develop. Now, on a very general level, narcissistic children, those who experience levels of it within themselves or high levels of it in their environment, generally feel more emotionally detached from other people. This leads them to have lower self-confidence, which ultimately makes them more predisposed to developing high levels of narcissism later in life. So I left the best parenting method for last because I want to end on a relatively good note. The authoritative parent actually minimizes narcissism. This is because these parents are able to promote proper emotional growth and regulation within their children, thereby reducing these negative psychological tendencies. So clearly, we can't blame the evil queen entirely for her actions. Chances are she didn't receive the best parenting style, and this, coupled with her innate dispositions, led her to be the villain that she is today. So I'm not telling you all to walk away saying, well, all my problems are because of my parents. But what I am saying is we need to make sure that parents are making informed decisions on how they bring up their children. By doing this, they can reduce negative psychological tendencies, and that will help their children live a happy childhood while also setting them up for success later in life. Thank you.